Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night, Walker versus Zhang. There's nothing crazy to talk about this, nothing serious to talk about this fight night other than maybe some cards or some random fights. In terms of the overall card, it was okay. Nothing serious to talk about. First honorable mention, we'll just jump right into it. First honorable mention, Long versus Su Young, or Xiao versus You, because in Asia, the last names are switched here and there. But Xiao versus You, I had You winning 29-28. First two rounds for You, last round for Xiao. In the very first round, You barely outstruck Xiao, but he was outstriking him pretty well by about 3 strikes. That's why I gave him the first round. You go to the second round, You outstruck Xiao, this time by about 9 strikes. By this point, the crowd was getting a little annoyed. The crowd was pretty cool, actually. The only time I think they booed to where it was audible and I heard them. It's funny because they didn't boo over during the Pavlovich versus Cortez fight. And I think that's because they were heavyweights and they were still kind of they were kind of throwing it in certain exchanges, even though none of them were super threatening. The only time they booed was, I think it was third, fourth round of Sterling versus Ortega. That's when the boos started coming out. And I was like, wow, that's the first time they've actually booed. It was kind of funny, but the opposite happened in this fight, okay? The crowd was, everything that Xiao threw, every single thing that Xiao threw was being inflated by the crowd to the point where I thought it was going to influence the judging. And thank God it didn't. I was saying to myself, okay, Xiao's throwing he's throwing heavy strikes. He's throwing almost everything, and almost none of it was landing. And the crowd would just make an audible ooh, ooh, and that would get super annoying. You go to the third round where Xiao finally outstruck You. He outstruck him by about 20 plus strikes. A little too late. He lost the fight. I just wanted to talk about that because the crowd came in and I was thinking to myself, what the hell is going on? Am I scoring this weird? What's happening? No, the crowd was just stumping for their fighter. All 3 judges have it the same as me, so we don't really need to talk about that. 29-28 for You. Go to the next honorable mention, and it's Rongzhu V Hubbard. This is a 30-27. It's a 30-27 for Rongzhu. I was mad when they brought up anything other than the 30-27. In the first round, Hubbard had a takedown, but it didn't matter. He was getting outstruck routinely throughout the entire round by Rongzhu. He outstruck him by about 5 strikes in that first round. You go to the second round, Hubbard again got a takedown. Same thing. The first round and the second round are practically the same. Okay? It's just Hubbard was picking up the pace, and he was a lot more active, and that's probably what changed the scorecard for some people. But he was still getting outstruck at the same rate. He got the takedown. He didn't do anything with it. It doesn't matter. Same result. That round goes to Rongzhu. You go to the fourth round. Rongzhu outstrikes Hubbard by about 15 plus strikes, and there you have it. There you get the 30-27. You go to the judges' scorecards. Clemens Warner is the only one with the correct scorecard. 30-27 to Rongzhu. The other 2 judges, Evan Field and David Lethaby, they have it 29-28 for Rongzhu. They give the second round to Hubbard. Honorable mention to those 2. I disagree with those scorecards. You go to the next honorable mention. And it's Maheshate versus Young. Okay, 30-27 to Young. While I was watching this, again, Chinese fighters, so the crowd's a little influency. Just watching it live, I was thinking to myself, this is a 30-27. He's outstriking him pretty well. He's winning the exchanges. Let me find my scorecards real quick. Yeah, you go to the first round. Young had a takedown. Now this is where it gets a little weedy, right? Because while the rounds would look slightly weird, you know who's winning. Okay, Young is outstriking Maheshate on the feet well. The strikes are close. He outstrikes him by about 2 strikes in round number 1. And then he gets the takedown towards the end. I don't think that wins him the round. I think even if he didn't get the takedown, I think he still wins this round. I really do. I think he still wins this round. But thank God he got the takedown, because we could be looking at a different scorecard. So there you have it on that. You go to the second round. Young had a takedown again, this time with a little bit of ground and pound. He gets a little bit of ground and pound. And he outstrikes Maheshate on the feet by about 12 strikes. This is certainly his round for sure. And then you go to the... Oh, and then here's the other part. The commentator was talking. As you... Listen, I don't like Lorosenko's commentary. I don't like Brendan Fitzgerald's commentary. And I don't like Bisping's commentary. So when all three of them come together to form one commentary team, it's a bad night for my ears. That being said, it's around the second or third round where two of them, Lorosenko, brings up that, there we go. It's all coming back to me now. Lorosenko mentions that Maheshate got dropped in the first round. He didn't. He slipped. Maheshate slips in the first round. Now, I think the first round still goes to Gage based off of what I said, but he doesn't get dropped. He slips. And for some reason, Lorosenko has to mention that, because if you watch enough of these fight nights, anyone from Philly is going to get great commentary from Paul Felder, and anyone from Kansas City who trains with Lorosenko in her circle will get favorable commentary. And Gage Young got really favorable commentary from Lorosenko here. Everything Gage did was perfect in the eyes of Lorosenko. So there you have it on that. And that influenced her saying that he won the first round based off of the drop when Maheshate did not get dropped. He just slipped. I mentioned the second round. And then you go to the third round. Young just outstruck Maheshate by about 10 plus strikes. That round goes to him. 30-27. You shouldn't have anything else, but sadly you do. David Lethaby, his scorecard is the only correct scorecard. It's 30-27 to Young. And then Evan Field, he gives the first round to Young. He gives the second round to Maheshate, which is pretty fucking... It's probably the worst. It's the worst round scored of the night. It's really, really bad. Really, really bad. Let's just go back to it real quick. Young has a takedown. I mean, this is one of Young's biggest rounds. He has a takedown with a little bit of ground, and he outstrikes Maheshate by about 12 plus strikes. He's outstriking him on the feet. Forget the takedown. He is outstriking him on the feet. Doesn't matter. For some reason, Evan Field gives him that round. Honorable mention to Evan Field. That's a terrible scorecard. And then Ben Cartlidge, he also has a 29-28. First round for Maheshate. I don't know how you see that. Even if it's even on the feet, they're both striking pretty well. Again, Young outstrikes him by about 2 plus strikes, but even though they're striking pretty well, that takedown kind of takes it for him. Honorable mention there. Bad first round scorecard for Ben Cartlidge. Go to the next honorable mention. And here's the last one, really. Pavlovich versus Cortes-Acosta. I knew once this fight was mentioned where it's going the distance. I don't know I don't know why the commentary team was like, wow, I'm surprised this is going the distance. I didn't think this was going the distance. They're supposed to do their homework. Their commentary is supposed to outweigh my homework, and my homework was none. It's just watching previous fights. And for the last 3-4 fights, ever since the Aspinall fight, Pavlovich hasn't looked the same. Pavlovich hasn't been going scorched earth. He hasn't been nuking people. And to translate that into layman's words, he's been really conservative in how he fights. And I knew that was going to come up against Waldo Cortes-Acosta. In fact, Cortes-Acosta fights the exact same way in almost every single one of his fights. So I knew this was going the distance. We look at the scorecards here. It's 29-28. Okay, first round for Cortes, last 2 rounds for Pavlovich. It's insane that they gave this a 30-27. In the first round, Cortes-Acosta, he outstrikes Pavlovich by 5 strikes. The commentary made it seem as though Pavlovich while he was looking good in the first round, he was getting outstruck in the first round. And he got outstruck by about 5 strikes in that first round. Go to the second round, Pavlovich, this is where whatever the commentary was saying stuck through. Pavlovich outstruck Cortes by about 10 plus strikes. No, by about 10 strikes, excuse me. And then the third round, Pavlovich outstruck Cortes by 18 strikes. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Clemens Werner, his scorecard reflects mine. Mark Christie's scorecard reflects mine. Both 29-28 to Sergey Pavlovich. And then Evan Field, his scorecard's just wrong. He used the first round to Pavlovich, making it a 30-27. I will mention Evan Field. That's a terrible scorecard. And then that's it on the scorecards. In terms of how the fight night ended, it ended with 4 rounds of boring from Ortega and Sterling. Basically, 50, what did I write? 50-45, okay? 50-45. Sterling won every single round, basically just sticking and moving for all 5 rounds. Ortega just didn't move his head and kept going forward. And the game plan, it's funny how in MMA, that's still a game plan of wait till he gets tired. And my problem with that game plan is you can still wait till he gets tired into the later rounds. But if you're not putting any sort of work or damage on the opponent, you're just like throwing up a prayer, or you're wishing for something. And it's just, to be this far into the fight game, to be this far into his career, Ortega, and to still be using such a small, rudimentary game plan is just, it's nonsense. I could understand that for Duplessis and Chimaev, right? That one makes a lot more sense than this one. This one just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's basically Ortega pushing Sterling backward, or for the first 3 rounds, it's Sterling going backwards, and that's because I'm being really honest when I say this, if he were to be stationary and still and stand his ground, as Bisping mentioned many times, there was a miscommunication in commentary where Bisping, as always, just misconstrued what Senko was saying. Senko saying that, yeah, Aljamain's just, he's going backwards, he's fearful of getting clipped, and Bisping is saying, no, he needs to stand his ground, and that'll stop Ortega from pushing him backwards, which they're both correct. And they're both correct, and they failed to see Bisping failed to see what Senko was saying. Because while Bisping is right that if Sterling just stays there and strikes with him, he will not get pushed back. The problem, though, that you can catch basically in the second round is that when Sterling would stand still, the strikes coming from Ortega would have landed and would have done, I think, significant damage to Sterling, which is why Sterling was backpedaling pretty much the entire time. I bring this up all the time. It's reminiscent of Hooker versus Hackparast. It's just stick and move, but it's effective stick and moving. Curtis versus Hermanson, right? Stick and move. But it was up into the 4th round where the pace got pushed a little bit more by Ortega, still lost. And then the 5th round where Ortega just gets taken down pretty much by like 3 times. And not even that. Besides him getting taken down, Ortega's pushing the pace and lands a couple strikes that get Sterling's attention, but he still gets outstruck he still gets slightly outstruck on the feet and on the ground, really with the ground and pound. So there's that. And then Walker versus Zhang. Zhang was winning, and then he lost by TKO. So that's pretty much that. That's all I got for this fight card. Thank you all for listening, and God bless.